How about forgetting those frustrations and concerns, those abrasive relationships for a little while, and just go with me for a walk in the woods? After all, God is the one who made all of creation. And so we'll just take a stroll through the woods down here in the state of Georgia, and in a county area, maybe 50, 60 acres of woods. It's divided into the main woods and then the pines. This is a stream that I need to cross, but I got my big boots on, so we'll walk right through. And I'm always concerned about directions, north, south, east, and west. And we're walking north at the present time. Naturally, south would be behind me. And over to my right would be the east. The sun's starting to come up in the east. And the west, of course, that's where the sun will set. Straight ahead is my corduroy trail. And it's a lowland, and so because it was low, I put a series of logs together and made a trail, so when it does rain and get muggy and boggy, I'm able to walk on wood. And now the reason you see all the cardboard on top of the wood is because of the weeds. So the weeds are coming up through the cracks from one log to another. So I at one time put carpet down, then we had a huge flood came through, took it all out. So a temporary arrangement is some cardboard that I've collected and just laid on there to help keep the weeds down. At this time of morning, and it's before 7 o'clock, we'll enter the woods at this time. To get in here, I had to dig through a briar patch and a whole lot of other debris to get through. So we're going to continue to go north on the trail, and you'll see that we're in the main woods, and I made kind of a fence. The way I made the fence is just using pieces or bags from the grocery store, cut in strips and pieced things together. It's a little in disrepair at the present time because I've been spending my time mostly in the creek and haven't shored it up. You'll see what's lying ahead is a main branch that's kind of opened up and fallen into the trail, and I'll repair those before too long. Over here, another wall has fallen down. I'll need to repair that. But I have a trail that runs north all the way through here. I have some crisscross pieces here. I'll just temporarily put it up and show you the very first little, what I call, fort. I just went through the whole woods and collected the wood of various sizes and made a enclosure, which I'm referring to as a fort, and we're gonna go over there. Now I got all kinds of spiders, and of course I'm walking through here, so they're getting cobwebs all over me. Alrighty, it's been a while since I've been back to this one. I have to see if it's in disrepair. It's not too bad. I've got a wooden floor. Those are processed woods, which is hard to see because it's rather dark. But again, we would be looking west as I'm holding the camera at the present time, but we'll go back and continue north for a while. And well, let's go back where we entered. That's the thing. So we'll go back toward the south, retracing my steps, and we'll just go back where I moved that board temporarily, or branch temporarily, to get in here. So I'm coming back to that point, and where is that? Here it is. And we'll just crisscross it again and continue on this main path that runs north. And over here to the east, I've got a what I call Fort Number 3, and it's got 17 rooms, and we'll look at that later. We'll continue going down the path. That's looking over where the first enclosure or first fort is, but you can hardly see it. And it might be that I needed to wait a while to come in here. Maybe I'm too early and we won't get the full view. This is what we call the courtyard. It's a very large enclosure, 75 by 75 feet. I think one of the deer was coming through here and knocked this wall down. I've got it up just temporarily. This is a huge tree that had fallen down right in the middle of the courtyard, and it makes its way up and is leaning against another tree. For now, it seems very substantial, so we're going to let her go. I got a little bench in there, and this fence over here is rather unique. There was a tree with many, many vines that climbed up on the tree, and I was able to, one morning I came in and all those vines had fallen down. So I collected them and built a fence at this point, and what we're going to do is head west, and I haven't been here for quite a while. I have a bridge right here at the end that crosses a small stream, and what the county did, they dug a trench all the way through the center of the woods, and that bridge crosses that, making it a little easier. Now, coming down here, this whole part of the woods is what I call the lowlands, because whenever it rains, you get a lot of moisture in here, and it stays that way for a couple months. But it's dried out fairly good, not all the way, but fairly good. So I've cut paths all the way through the woods, north, south, east, and west, and I'm just going to this western path. I pick up all this stuff and drag it back to the main area where I'm working. Now here, I collected all kinds of things and was able to build forts, a total of 5 forts in the pines and 3 forts here in the woods. And I'm going over here to one of the boys' homes. Two of the boys, one has a home to the east, one has a home to the west, and our home is located to the south. So it's a triangle, and there's an old tire, and there's a whole cul-de-sac in here with a whole row of houses going round and round. And I'm still proceeding to the west to one of their houses. So here I'm walking. There's a big cobweb there I'm trying to avoid, but I'm not sure I'm going to do it. So I'll just peek my head out of here and let you take a peek at the house. That's the house of one of the boys right there. And there's other houses on this cul-de-sac. I'll go back in the woods and we'll proceed now going north. And so here we go. I have to hold my hand up over my face because there's all kinds of cobwebs here. I have a trail that goes straight through there and it kind of cuts the woods right in half. As I'm proceeding down here to the north. Oh, let's see what else is there. Some of these spiders are huge, and I'm getting them all over my arms. I don't like that. Okay, now, at this point, you might say your guide is lost, because it's been so long since I've come through here. I think I got off the trail, so I'll backtrack. There's a lot of briar bushes that are coming up in here, and all kinds of strange holes in the ground. Oh, let's see. And then, of course, you got other branches, and branches fall down in here, so I'm really kind of in the dark until I find my way out of here. Let's see, where in the world? I am lost. I'm not exactly sure where to go at this point. I have to backtrack again. It's not too smart walking through here without any protection from all those all kinds of fallen branches, vines grab you, trip over them. I think what I'll do is, instead of proceeding north, I think I'll try to go back and go toward the east. There's a path. There was a path through here. It's been so long since I've been through here, because I've been spending all my time in the pines or over at the creek. And might have to do this over because I don't really know where I am. And when I first came in this woods, I got lost a number of times. But let's see where we are now. We're back to that stream, we're back to that area where they dug the ditch through here. And in this ditch, let's see, how far up would I have to go? I got to be careful of these trees, because some of them are always falling over. You never know when they might do just that. Okay. All right, I'm backtracking, but we're going toward the, we're kind of making our way through the woods, heading east, as you can see by the bright sun. I'm kind of weaving my way around, though, trying to figure out where I am. That's amazing. You just see the main paths have been kind of eradicated with growth and fallen branches and all, so I think I know where I am. I think I do. And of course the snakes are all over the place. I've seen about 6 of them this summer, various times and in various places. Okay, I'm back on the very main path that kind of cuts through the center of the woods, and the pines are over there to the east. And as we head this way, it's that main path cutting the woods right in half. There's a big tree up here that's leaning precariously, and I'm always leery when I walk by here. When I was building some of my forts, I brought a lot of material on this main path. So the path I was really heading for is that one that's going to the west and to the east. But now we're over here on the next to the pines again. Right there's the pine, and this is part of that main path that cut from south to north all the way through the woods. So we're back on track. We're just a little further to the east than where I was walking. Now you see, here's these new vines that are climbing up the tree, and one of my jobs as self-appointed curator of the wooded area is to cut those vines off. I got into a lot of poison sumac by doing it. Here's an area that I spent a lot of time, and 2 great big trees had fallen in here, and I was able to cut almost every branch off that I could carry and built some of the forts out of that. We'll backtrack again, heading south just for a little bit, and we'll go over here to the okay, now I can get back on my trail going north, and this has again grown up immensely since I was here. Spent a lot of time cutting these, or working on these 2 big trees that are falling down, and many tall weeds through here. There's several paths up ahead. One of them, a main path, is that one, and it connects with that other western path. Many trees have fallen down in here, and I used to walk under one of them, and then in a couple days she came tumbling down, and so I'm kind of leery when I'm walking. I have to look up occasionally to see if I see any precariously leaning or hanging trees. I'm going north and a little bit west to get in here to show you the creek. And so we're back to the creek. One of the hangouts of one of the big snakes is over there on the other side near that pipe. And this big tree that you see falling across the stream, I cut in half because it had gone all the way across. I don't see evidence right at the moment of that snake. And that big tree was here. I used to lean my hand against it. Then one day came out here and it had fallen down, and I cut it in half. This is an older tree, also had fallen down. I made a little corduroy trail over there, and as we're looking toward the north, there's a big hill, and then there's a path along there, and there's those big elephant vines that take over everything. But we're on the high ground. That's looking north. This whole wooded area backs up to more homes on that cul-de-sac where we were earlier, and that's looking down toward the south now. So again, instead of jumping down in that big hole, and that used to be a tree here that was washed away, I heard something. What was that? Something splashed in the water. So I'm looking down at the water, but I don't see my big snake. I hear a noise. So what I'll do is go around the corner, and now we're heading west. Again, backtracking. These 2 trees I used to walk under, they fell down. This tree is not going to be up here too much longer. You can see a huge hole here in the tree. And I'm backtracking. I'll go around the corner here. And this is the way I came in, so we're going back the same way. And we're heading again toward those 2 big sycamores that had fallen, and I was able to cut them all up with a bow saw and drag them on that main path back to what I call the fort area. So you can see how the growth is evident in here. This used to all be just flat. That tree there is, when the big one fell, it leaned against it a little bit. It'll probably fall in a year or a day, you never know. God's in control of that. Okay, so now I'm back on this path, and when we crossed that stream and came in, this is the curvature, and what the county did, they brought in all this dirt or scooped it out of the area to my right, and made a high 10 to 12 foot rise. The creek again is that way. So let me first of all go down in here again toward the creek and give you that perspective. We were looking at the creek a little further north. Now we've come down south and we're still looking at the same creek, but from a further down and at a different angle. I used to have a big pile of wood right here. Yesterday I moved all that wood and kind of hid it behind those branches. And I don't know whether I'll build another fort someday with them, or maybe somebody will. Since there's strangers in the woods now, and that's where I piled it all, and I found that wading pool, got it out of the creek, and all the wood had come out of the creek. And you know, you can see the deer track, and each day when I come down here, I search out those deer tracks to see which direction they were gone and where they were, and all kinds of debris I've pulled out of the creek on 3 or 4 curves. So now we're backtracking, going west again, in the path that just came in, and we're going back to that elevated area that the county has made. It's really a watershed, so that when the creek gets real high, that water pours in here from the north and goes down in the valley to my right, which is west. And so as I'm walking up on this elevated area that the county mows maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I'll show you. Here's a tree that's split in 3 ways, and one of them fell down just the other day and damaged one of my forts in the pines. So this is the pines, and in those pines there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different enclosures that I've made and have labeled them as forts. You can see in this early morning, and it's not as easy for you to see as for me, because the brightness of the sun turns everything white instead of the colors that I see. But walking up here, there's a 5-gallon bucket that I put eyes on and have it propped up against that tree. And then as one of the other boys lives over here on this side, which is the east side of the area on the other side of the creek. So I cut this big path through his place, and that's his house in the distance, and that's my little bucket that I put eyes on. Don't know that you can see it all that good, but it's there. I'm going to go up, and the new visitors that have come in have started to cut these trees down and building themselves a little camping area. So I'm wondering if they were in here again last night. But they're cutting the trees, letting them fall right across the path, and cutting them up and hauling them into their new camping area, I guess. Doesn't look like they've been here last night. Everything looks about the same. There's another path that goes back to the creek, and I can cross over the creek, crawl up the bank, and I'm in one of the boys' backyards. This is that new path that they cut, and on a previous video I showed what they've gotten down there, where they have a pit they dug. There's the tree that they cut down, a sycamore, and it's quite a long one. They're going to have to cut it up if they're going to haul it in there, and I guess that's what their plans are. Over here to my left is the area that maybe 60-70 yards goes to the creek, and straight ahead going south on this curve I have paths that go in there, and that goes to a stream, the very stream we crossed over when I came in, and that stream dumps into the creek at one point. Now this is the overflow for this area. When the water rises, and we had that big 7-foot flood, it was all full of water, and it comes through the pipe and out the other side and down into the stream, and from the stream it dumps into the creek again. So again, I'm in Georgia. It's early in the morning, around 7 o'clock, and I'm just giving a little walk through to give you an idea of the whole area that's covered. I'm calling it 50-60 acres. I don't know if I'm accurate on that, but I doubt that it's much different from that. And many places I have paths that go down in here, and they go to the stream, and the deer are using them on a regular basis. There's 6 deer that I've seen. 3 of them are fawns, and 3 of them are does. Haven't seen a buck. And there's a neighborhood on the other side of this creek. There's a neighborhood that backs up to the stream, separated again by maybe 30-40 yards. And I cut a path through here, so at least the tall grass, I'm not getting my pants all wet, because I have that buffer zone. And then I have also, at this very first tree, I have a path that goes directly through the pines. So there's a path here that goes all the way through the pines. There's 3 other paths that go through, and there's 4 paths that go from west to east through them. So it's like a huge checkerboard. And in the very middle are these 5 forts, which really are enclosures of different branches and small trees that I've been able to piece together, picking up all the scrap stuff. So now we're proceeding again toward the west, and I found that piece of hose. I just laid it there temporarily. Haven't figured out what I'm going to use it for. And so we've encompassed quite an area walking through here. So I hope that gives a little perspective of what it's like in here. Now we've made a full circle. We're back to the stream and the little passageway. That tree, every day I walk by, and then that tree fell down one morning. I came down one morning and it had fallen in the night. That's happened 6 other times. And these are humongous trees. They're very, very tall trees that make up the big area. And then on the other side of these trees are the pine, what I call, I guess, the pine forest. So having made full circle, I'm going to walk back in here again to the Corduroy Trail, now heading north once more from the south where I live up toward the north, walking on the Corduroy Trail, which is a bunch of logs with cardboard over them to keep down some of the weeds. And I need more cardboard if I'm going to make that very effective. This is where we entered before, and we're entering again. And I didn't mention fort number 2. Over on my left, down here a ways, we went in the very first one, which has treated lumber I found from the creek for its floor. And then this is the crisscross where I took the board down and walked through. And I had told you that over here to my right, or toward the east, is all of the is fort number 3. And fort number 2 that I didn't mention is right down here when we get to this outer court. In the outer court, fort number 2 is right here. So all of this is fort number 2. That big limb is a border between fort number 3 and fort number 2. And that huge tree fell down years ago, I imagine. And there's another little bit of that fence. This is that main path that runs all through the woods. And for weeks and weeks, this was full of water. It's finally dried out. This is what I used to call the construction entrance, right on the other side of this big fallen tree. And this was the construction entrance where I dragged all the materials from that fallen tree and brought it in here. Now there's some damage here, either from somebody hitting it or a storm, I don't know which. The pines are all out there. And you walk up here, and I have paths that run all through the woods. That's one of them right there. And we go down here about halfway on my main path through the woods to get into the ponds. And most of the pictures are photos that I was able to take with my trail camera. Most of those photos came from inside of the ponds. And the ones I prefer are not the ones at night, but the ones in the daytime. And I was able to take a lot of photos of the deer. So what I'm going to do now is just show the entrance to, this is the entrance, one of the entrances to the pines. And again, we're kind of heading in a easterly direction from west to east. There's a path that runs here. There's a path that runs there the whole length of the pine. And we'll make our way through here. I have these little markers on the trees, and they're almost the only way I know how to get through here anymore, because we have so much either grass or small trees that have grown up. This path goes east or goes north and south. We're continuing toward the east at this point with still markers on all the trees. We have a lot of these things, which are actually termites live in there. Okay, I think I'm running out of battery power, and I'm going to have to shut it down. But in there is one of the forts. I might have time just to walk in there before the battery's dead, or the film runs out. I don't know which is first, since this is one of the longer ones. Longest one I made so far. There you go. That gives you an idea of one of these enclosures. So there's 5 of these enclosures all through the pines that look like that. So this is Bob, and we've been on a stroll through the woods in the state of Georgia. Tune in again. Bob. Well, I don't know. Let her run out. Maybe I'll walk back up here. Now we're going back west and heading back out to the main woods from inside of the pines. I really wasn't sure I'd have time to show you inside of the pines. You can really talk about getting lost. You can get lost in here if you get off one of these trails, because it's a wilderness. And amazingly, again, I repeat, 3 years ago, this was all bare ground when they constructed this watershed to take care of some of the over flooding that might occur from the rise of the creek. Okay, this is Bob signing out, back on the main trail and heading south toward home. Oh, praise the Lord. If you listen, you can hear some of the birds. They're always chirping. Many times I hear the woodpeckers, raccoons, the rabbits, the squirrels I see, the crayfish coming up out of holes in the ground, all kinds of wildlife. This is the day the Lord hath made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it, says Bob. Oh, back down in this gully or dip that runs through the woods, back up to Fort Number 2, back on the main path heading south, looking down to the courtyard to the west, and back on that trail. What's that little, there's a little signature that I've never seen on my camera before. I think it might be telling me either my time's running out or the film, I don't know which. But back on the, now this rail has fallen in. That was, the fence was right across there, but probably when we got a lot of moisture, it took it down. There's repair work that needs to be done to restore it to what it was. Coming out again to the corduroy trail. And this corduroy trail, again, covered with cardboard to keep down some of the weeds. I didn't bring any tools with me. Normally I carry tools. Didn't bring any today because I wanted to have a stroll in the woods and give you another perspective of how large the area is. And you've seen that I got lost myself in it, so wouldn't be surprised if you did. Okay, looking again toward the east, looking again toward the west, and continuing south to cross the stream, over the fallen tree, through a subdivision, up to the main road, and then up the road to the east a ways and turning south again to my house. So, thanks for going with me. And your perseverance in watching this to the very end is an inspiration. Alrighty. We're still on this path. We're coming up the path toward the entrance from a different subdivision. There's one subdivision over there to my left. I walk through a subdivision to my right. And this is where the county keeps a lock on that gate. And that's the, we're coming out on that subdivision. Somebody else is going for a walk up here, I see. Okay. Now, we are at this point walking through the subdivision to a main road up here to my left. That'll lead up to a highway that goes through here. So, here we are. That's looking up the street. I'll go all the way up the street to the end. They have a gate through the fence. I can go out on the highway. So that's what I'll plan to do. I'll keep her running for a while just to see if I can. Okay. There's a Georgia truck right there, number 1449 for the county. There's a dog up here that usually has a fit when I come up here barking. I hope he doesn't see me. Today, the lady had to take it in back of the house the other day. It kind of hates me because I'm the blue man, I guess. I'm all dressed in a blue jumpsuit. Got my big boots on. I probably don't look too great. So I'm getting out of breath a little bit on this hill, but I get a good walk every day, and I always take the walk through the woods rather than just out on roads looking at houses all the time. And people have their papers on the lawn they haven't gone to get yet. And now we're coming up here around the corner. The subdivision probably has 60 or 70 homes, pretty much a townhouse community. And I'm making my way up the hill. The gate I'm going to go through is right up here. So let's see if I can get through it. All right. Okay, there's a tennis court and a swimming pool right there off this main road. Now I'm turning back toward the east, and where those trees are on the other side of the road, and my house is located there. So you've walked with me quite a ways, and we've covered a lot of ground in our stroll through the woods of Georgia, July 28th, 2018. Bob, your host, on this little walk. Here comes another car coming along. Now, I thought the film would have run out before now, but she seems to be holding. I don't know. It's the longest one I've ever tried to make, so if you stuck with me this long, you have a lot of persistence and endurance. So thank you very much for hanging in there for a stroll through the woods in Georgia. There are some townhomes up there on the other side of the road, and I live in one of those. So let me cross the highway. I don't think I'll get run over. Okay. Praise the Lord, I made it back. Okay, all of these rocks in here are just an amazement to me. I don't know if they dug them out when they built the homes or what. There's this little area. I've got all my bushes back here that I trim every day. And you can see the rocks are just everywhere. Big rocks. Big, big, big rocks. I'm in this second house with the porch up there. And there's about 60 homes in our area too. So, for what is this, the fourth time? Bob signing off.